Good evening, adventurers. We're here in the ADV labs. We have a few of the captains of KAT, and you don't know what that means yet, but we're here to discuss that. Every spring we have an event called the KAT Invitational. It originally started out as literally just a few friends inviting a few friends. Well, so on and so on, that turned into what? I think it was like 50 people last year. So we changed the format, and now it's officially an event. And what I have with me here are some of the semi-local and local captains of some of the teams that show up to that. So we're going to go down the line. We're going to start with Julian over there.
What's up? Dirt Dogs represent.
Okay, he's a captain of the Dirt Dogs. He is a Louisville local team. And about how many people do you say, on average, is your team running?
6 to 8. I don't know. We always start strong and people drop off.
All right, next on down the line, we've got Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Geiser with the Rut Sluts. We're the newcomers on board, on the scene.
Coming
last year.
Lots of coming.
Last year was the first year.
Okay, and so that'll be very important later on when we get some newbie info and people that show up late. And we have one of the OGSG captains.
That's right.
Was there before it was actually a team's event. Go ahead.
Yeah, Matt Schmitz. I run Team Ohio Wrecking Crew, and we've got folks all over the damn place, out to New Hampshire too. A couple that come out for the event. That's about 6 to 8 of us total.
But you guys are generally based in
Cincinnati,
Ohio. There are a few other captains I would have liked to have, but logistics is almost impossible. We've got some of the other bigger teams. Brappy Trails out of Chicago. It's a bit of a jaunt for what is this, Wednesday evening?
Yeah.
Crappy Trails. They were our first place last year. They had the year before.
Recount.
Dude, it was recounted so many times.
Hashtag robbed.
Yeah. And then we've got teams that come from Kansas City. Where are the Manharts from?
They are from Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah, they rode with us last year.
Nice.
We've got Colorado people that come in now. There was another team, I think they were from like one of the Dakotas, weren't they? I don't remember. But so far, the idea is working that we are bringing in like-minded adventurers. Ooh, like-minded doesn't sound as good these days. Fellow adventurers from far and wide to gather, build the community. The community, for anything you want to keep around, community is key. So this started out as how to get people new to the ADV culture into doing it while doing it with other people so they don't die alone on the trail. Like I said, Schmitz here, he was our first group. It was, 6 people?
There were 6 of us, yep.
And it was a rainy 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Our goal was to get a portion of it done, a large portion of it. And for the first few years we did that. It was just get as far as we could on the KAT.
Yeah, it was over like 4 days, I think.
Yeah. We had planned a long one.
Because it initially it started out as like a whole long weekend event. And over time, it's shortened into just kind of a one-day, get out there, rally, have fun, and come back.
Once you get a cat trail that long, and I mean CAT, it's like wrangling cats in the woods. It's impossible to get any kind of distance. So we're using the word KAT a lot here. It stands for Kentucky Adventure Tour. It was pioneered by Jeff Stess, one of the adventure daddies locally. I've been far and wide across our country here. And our local KAT trail is some of the best adventure riding I've done in my life. I've been East Coast, I've been West Coast, the Colorado BDR, one of my favorites, but it's great. The views are awesome. Still, single-handedly, the KAT is by far some of my best riding. You're 1 minute you're in rural Kentucky, and the next minute you're on Endor. It's wild. So, Jeff Stess, KAT, the Kentucky Adventure Tour. That's what we're talking about. What we're doing now, the last few years, it's turned into a team scavenger hunt, photo style, and photo video. I make a challenge list, and these teams that have been built, what would you say? You provide, you show me afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes. We submit.
We submit
all of our
your scores. And then a team of us on the ADV team, 80V, we'll go over it so that it's unbiased. I do have my favorites, so I have to keep that in check. So some of us that were there were watching the whole time. We're looking for team participations and stuff like that. And just so that you're not being a tool, we don't catch you trash on the trail or something like that. We are watching. We are counting our own mental points. But then again, at the end, they provide their own points. So let's take a look at our notes here. We've covered the basics. We've covered what KAT is, our format now. We show up on a Friday night is our meet and greet, which that's fun in and of itself.
Yeah.
You can catch people rebuilding a motorcycle the night before.
Yeah.
Or I need to go run to this Facebook Marketplace. One guy bought a just the T7.
He bought the T7
the night before.
that day on Friday, didn't he? Well, he just swung through Rocky Mountain, picked up a bike.
Yeah, he picked up another $2,000 in goodies and was slapping it on. Must be nice.
Yeah.
So the Friday is the meet and greet, and for the scavenger hunt the last couple of years, it helps breaking it up into their own individual teams, so I don't have to try and wrangle 40, 50 people in the woods. I get to actually enjoy KAT again while maneuvering in and out pace-wise of newer teams, larger teams, new people. We had a guy one year, we were having the safety brief, and he walks up afterwards, and he's like, "Hey, can I come ride?" I'm like, "Are you not here for this?" He goes, "No, I just bought this KTM, and I saw you guys all standing out here." I was like, "Absolutely." And he came with us. It was 150 miles that weekend. It was before we shortened it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So the Friday is the meet and greet. Get your bikes ready. Everybody's saying hi. There are KAT veterans now, so it's really cool to see all you guys come hang out together. Last year was the weird Goldwing Valkyrie meetup at the same time.
That happened twice.
Yeah, they had a bunch of big ass fucking boomer bikes.
Oh, that's right.
Which they're always fun at the bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday is the actual event itself. We start off in the morning, and what do we usually start with that morning, guys?
Why, a invigorating round of calisthenics.
Yeah.
Which every year you do this mild torture to us, and for me, you always come up to me "Are you doing okay?" It's just I fucking just exercised 10 minutes in front of everybody. So yeah, I'm winded.
The first year you sprung it on everybody, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the first year when we started doing the themes was the Great Escape.
Yeah.
So we had the whistly.
Oh, that was awesome.
While I was screaming at people, "You will not leave your buddy." What was butterfly kicks, move, and it's
you're getting video of everybody doing
absolutely.
this, and our perspective was seeing everybody come out of Little Abner. It's just what
the main hub for the event is this little hotel in Slade, Kentucky, and it's a sleepy little hotel most of the time. Until our group shows up at 8 or 9 in the morning, and we are just screaming at each other. So it starts off with the calisthenics. As a bonus point for the video, stretch before the ride, kids. Mm-hmm. We're always aging. Death is coming for us. Stretch first. And we've played with the format a little bit as far as release. Last year we did it as one big group again, which was rad. Super cool to see was it 50 odd people on adventure bikes blast out as a group. And then once we officially hit the trail, it was kind of okay, you're on your own. The year before that we did kind of a GP release. What did you guys think about that? I don't think you were there for that one.
It's
not.
Every 10 minutes kind of set.
It was every 5 minutes we would set a
team.
team out, and I designed it so that the slower teams, people I knew that were newer or not as savvy off road, I set them out first, so that the more experienced teams would
catch up and help them out.
Yeah. It was in passing interaction. It kind of worked, but I think everybody kind of got bummed and got antsy,
and they still got bunched up. And the other side putting that in front of them, saying, newest teams go first. It's that kind of put that on them a little bit, where it's oh, we're the first.
It was good, but I think the part of the game of this is to kind of quell the competition side of it, and that amped it up. Because normally when you leave with the big parade, it's kind of silly, but when we took off, it was just it was just fucking kill mode, and so it's a little bit more fun just goofing around with the
Okay.
Yeah.
Duly noted. This I will tell you, for the captains that are paying attention. This is a great resource for team captains, by the way. We will be doing the group release again this year. It worked really well last time.
It's fun.
If it ain't broke, break it or something. And then we get into trail, and there's a couple big obstacles right out of the gate. Why don't you guys dive into that a little bit?
Well, I would just like to give a shout out to Alex Workman for taking my bike down Walker Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Because we rolled right up on that. I was like, oh, hell no. And we were all struggling in that deep ravine. And I was like, who's taking my bike? Well, he just showed right up and did it.
Yeah, from Little Abner's, I think it's maybe like a 10-minute jaunt till we touch actual trail.
Yeah, maybe.
10-minute, like beautiful morning, crisp ride through the roads. And then you're on a dirt path. You're on a dirt path for maybe 5 seconds before it's just an absolute hell dive.
Rock drive,
into it.
When I do this cell, when I'm trying to, get people to come out with this, I try to preface it with like, there's 3 spots where it's the hardest shit and you're hating life, but the rest of it is just sort of tourism. It's nice roads. But that first one is kind of like the squirrel catcher of the day. You got to get past that, and then everything else is fine. Right. But it's really fun because that's when everyone is bunched together, and you do have a lot of support with, people spotting you and shit like that. So.
It's either people spotting you or some asshole team that's dog-based barking at them as they're... Literally, they are in the struggle, the hardest struggle they've ever had in their lives.
Yeah. It's like gentle and like... terrorism, I guess. Yeah. It's like
benevolent terrorism.
Your full throats barking at these people as they're climbing these hills. I love it. It's great. It's a good idea.
So before this, it was like you constantly read the room, riding with people, and you're trying to like fall in line and be steady and just not like fuck with too many people. But with the competition thing, it's fun because I feel like me and my people, we've fallen into this sort of villain, like the antagonist.
Yeah.
So that's cool because if you're a
anti-hero.
If you're like kind of wound up on these rides and you want to get to that extra hard line, it's kind of unspoken that you can do that. And so for those features, it's pretty nice just to go around the group, and you can help if you can, but if you feel like just launching off the cliff, you can do it. And so that's what I think is.
And that's the bonus with the challenges. Every year it's been 60 challenges. Some of them are just abstract, goofy shit, but most of it is like team building and interaction and community building. And one of my favorite like wholesome and uplifting challenges is always pack out trash. And every team that does submit points, and there's usually like 6 or 7 of you. Every team always has the pack out trash, and it's like just bags of beer cans.
Yep, I keep trash bags in my tank bag.
So there's your first challenge, and you're 100% correct. There's only really like 2 or 3 major things. Everything else is absolute gorgeous, like ravines and rivers and forest stuff. Most of it's 2-track. That's fair to say, right? Most of it's 2-track.
I'd say.
I have selected about 100 miles, roughly, of this Kentucky Adventure Tour for this one day. It used to be, a mad dash as far as we could get just to prove what we were doing. And we were like packing camping gear. We were going out and staying out. This is more of a loop. We come back to our hotel, a nice hot shower. It keeps everybody a little bit more... lighthearted, not so like, well, we have to get here, you know what I mean?
Well, that, you don't have to pack all of your stuff with
on
you.
Your bike.
Keeps it light. Now, I love a heavy, way down bike. I don't know what it is.
You're a strong man.
Yeah, exactly. It is a sickness. It's a sickness of the brain. I love watching big old, Workman's team. The first year we did teams, it was, what was it? It was like some like big boys or something like that.
And his brother was on the KLR 650 wearing a flannel shirt with the sleeves ripped off and cowboy boots.
The tightest jeans I've ever seen.
Castle and that get up.
Yeah, the KLR
no gear.
was the smallest bike they had. Everything else was like KTM 1100s. That one girl had the brand new 1150 or 1250 GS trophy.
That was the year before, right?
And brand new. You could see a reflection in the exhaust manifolds.
Wow.
And she put a lot of people to shame on our next obstacle. The big one that is a little more daunting than the rest of them, Fincastle Road. The first time we did that route,
Did somebody whiskey throttle their bike into the woods?
We're going to put that right here. Even the most experienced have a hard time because they're goofing. The first time we did it, it was because the Jeff Stess had changed the route from what we usually did. It was this gorgeous, like, triple river crossing. It used to be really cool. I think it got too deep. He took it off. Or, just another property thing. And the first time I was like, oh, he moved it to this line right next. And squiggly lines all look the same in regard to elevation. So it was the first year we had done the scavenger challenges. And I was leading the group. And we came up this huge monster uphill. I was like, that was so much fun. I was like, people are going to be hyped. And I rounded this rock face. And it was just this wall of everything from like pumpkin size to like car size boulders at like a 45-degree angle. I was like, oh fuck, this is bad. There are 45 people behind me that are going to be super amped about this. I think I'll talk about really quick about it, but I want you guys to tell us. We'll take a break from the business end of this. You guys tell us some Fincastle stories, but I think Fincastle might be my favorite part of the event because everybody bottlenecks there.
Yeah.
And there are 50 bikes parked at the bottom. Gradually, it's just a show of watching how people go up, if they go up. Some people just like, hey, can you take my bike? Plenty of people there will do that. So we'll start with Julian again. Give me some Fincastle war stories.
I mean, being the kind of intro for this, the way I always describe it is that's like the grand theater of the whole event because it's a party, and with you try to figure out like some people get bummed out with riding with more than a small group. It's like, is that fun? That's where it's super fun because again, you have all the support, but then too, it's just like hecklers. It's just like a line of people helping you, messing with you and all this stuff, and you just end up hanging out there for an hour. And if you get bored, you can session it. You can go up and down more than once, or you can help someone go up. But for me, I always describe it as like that's the whole reason to go, because you get this weird camaraderie with everyone, and it's just a fun thing to see how everybody tackles it. And it's also like struggle bus, the worst thing. Like the first time I did it, I was just by myself, and I was just like, this is cool. And in my head, I was just at the top of that. I was just like, fuck this. Why am I doing this? It's awful. Hate it. Ugh. And then you get to the top, and it's just like, boom, just sweet release, and it's the funnest thing.
You are one of the adventure gods chosen at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, so last year as a newbie,
and that was your new. That was like you riding for the first time. Like that was your adventure year.
Yeah. So my first time even doing anything off-road was Red River Scramble 2023. So I was definitely campaigned to get my shit together and do the KAT last
I think it was
year.
literally verbatim, get your shit together.
Yeah, pretty much. So I did. And
because you had gone to the Scramble and you're like, I had a really good time, and you guys were discussing the routes. I'm like, oh, you guys went on some like mild routes, and I was like, if you really want to get your shit kicked in, come.
I don't want to get my shit kicked in.
I previewed it for her. I was saying, you want to see what Fincastle is like? You want to see what this is really awesome
That's
like?
right.
So
that's right.
we rode to the top of it.
We did.
And you peeked it? You're like,
we walked it up.
And then he told me the story of breaking his leg to just, cement it in my mind that this is not me. So, so roll around to, last year, and of course I was like, oh, does anybody want me on their team? No. So I started my own, and which was great. And so Fincastle definitely was that mountain to climb. It was...
Literally.
And I'm pretty inexperienced, and I have a strong sense of self-preservation for the most part. So I was nervous about it. But one of the great things about this event, what I love so much, is that, we're all in separate teams, but the camaraderie is real.
Yeah.
And so I've never felt like I wasn't supported or it wasn't going to be possible. I mean, I was definitely just like, who wants to take my bike up? And a few people said, you got to at least give it a try.
Yeah,
So,
everybody, like people you've never met, are like, come on, you gotta try
yeah. So I not really knowing which route to take necessarily, but there was definitely people there to say, go here, just get to this point, and then get to this point. And I would have to give a shout out to Aaron Pickard because he's just the greatest Ohio Wrecking Crew. Aaron Pickard.
He is one of our single greatest participants.
Yes, he is, and he was just really a quiet presence by my side. He's like, okay, just take your bike to this point, and I get there, and he'd coach me up and say, okay, get to the next point. He'd get me there, and once I got past that last third sort of hot spot, I just throttled it and got all the way to the top. I couldn't believe I did it. I was like, oh my god. So it was great though. Now I'm really looking forward to it next time. Now I got that dog in me. I can't wait.
Speaking of dogs,
all right, yeah. No, the Fincastle, the first year I truly went on it. I missed the 1 year because Caitlin had her down. Rest in peace, Caitlin.
Speaking of, for bonus points, visit the Caitlin Gossett Memorial Overlook for points for your team. Rest in peace, Caitlin. We'll see.
Caitlin is alive and well.
I love that was on that.
It will be again.
So we didn't get to do Fincastle when that first year happened. Then the next, 2 years ago, I took it up on my Funduro, and that thing was not ready.
It was not.
It was not tuned right. I had the throttle was all screwed up. It normally has a push pull. It only had a pull and no stop. So I had no idea when I was fully closed throttle. So it was a mess. And I got it almost all the way the frick up there, and I got into a rut, whiskey throttle. That bike goes one way, I go the other, come down hard on my leg, and I tore my meniscus was the thing. I didn't break, thankfully, but I was limping bad for about 2 months. So.
You were pretty.
It was rough. I rode her out.
Yeah,
let's backtrack that a little bit to one of my favorite memories on the Fincastle was before he did that and actually went up the hill. He negated to tell you that he had about 800 pounds of hard luggage on that bike, and it had no business being there. Again, we stated you didn't need luggage at this point.
I know.
Before he went up, one of his teammates and his partner had ratchet strapped his hard luggage and walked it up. So it was like old pioneers, like hucking steel cases. I was like, what? It'll carry that for you.
That creek downhill, that was the point where I'm like, I fucked up. I knew it. I was just like, the rest of the day is going to suck.
Yeah.
And it did. But at the end of it, rode it all the way out and made it back. So
I don't know how many of our viewers understand what Type 3 fun is. It's miserable while you're in it, but then afterwards, it's absolutely one of your best memories. So that's Fincastle. The rest of it is pretty on average about the same. There's like Pumpkin Hollow, Spas Creek. Can get a little slippery. Some of it's uphill, but none of it is nearly as like visually daunting. It's that like when you come around that bend, it's like when Frodo was on the fucking path and it like oh fuck. We get people like, well, I can't go that way, and they're like, well, that's the way out. There's totally a way around. But we absolutely want to see you. Absolute negative points for Tattletales. Brappy Trails calling you out. Someone skipped Fincastle last year.
Did they? Who was that?
Yeah. Who would do a thing? It was noted on points for Tattletales. Just saying. So yeah, the challenges. Give me some of your favorite challenges. And it's not like momentous great challenges. It's silly stuff. Like I said, my favorite's the pack your trash out stuff. And some of them are themed. Like last year was Rootin' and Tootin', and it was like dirt dogs all showed up, fully kitted out, tassel cowboy uniforms.
Yeah. Another thing, like when I'm trying to sell this, is the themes are what makes it fun. Like who cares if you're like a badass, the best motocross rider in the world? Can you ride in boots and a silly shirt? And so it's more about like diving into the experience and just being a little vulnerable and silly. And so that was fun last year. I felt like we sold it, and I was just like, we're going all in. Like, no, it's like maybe boots, but like everything else, like get the denim, get the I had a whole eBay list of all the Western Air shirts.
I mean, some of their luggage even had matching neon high-vis frill.
And fringe.
Yeah. The cap guns in the restaurant, maybe not the wisest choice. But I gave you a point for that because it was hilarious. We had stopped for lunch. Dirt Dogs were at their own table, and it was Christian, right? Middle, out of nowhere, no context, no prompt, just pulls this it's like a full-size little revolver and just BOW! In the restaurant. All the other people were like, oh, God! And I was like, oh, fuck, this is a little bit my fault.
Can one of the challenges this year be big Christian energy?
Oh, God. I don't know if we can handle that. We need to get safety waivers for that one. Another thing I'd like to point out is this event is a free event. We don't charge anything. We give you the GPX. We tell you where we're going to be. Obviously, you have to house yourself. Generally, everybody stays either at Little Abner, right off 11. There's a few Airbnbs around. Alex Workman, for the past, 3-4 years, has offered his property. I think it's about 15-20 minutes away. He offers camping there, and they've got some basic amenities, some running water. I think they hooked up a shower last year.
Yeah.
And you were there. I was not at his place last year. Tell us about the Workman camp.
It's really nice. Again, talking about free stuff, it's just someone being gracious and allowing us to use their facilities, park at their place.
Yep.
It's basically a nice, secure parking spot for any kind of rigs, and which just feels nice. The first year I did this, I was so nervous about where do I park, being gone for a weekend. So there, it's nice. You can leave a vehicle there, and it's camp vibes. There's a little creek behind, and we're always just being goblins in the middle of the night over there.
And he had a turn track.
Yeah, yeah. Alex, he builds in a little grass track on the spare lot, and it's good because Christian energy. I always get antsy too. I'm just let's do something, and so there's a little mini track that you can do a little course on. It's good. It's good.
Last year we had our first awards ceremony too, which was nice. It was the award for the previous year. So our first, the new format, let's call it. So that was cool to the night before you guys all rode up as a group from that too. But back to some of the challenges.
I can't remember the challenges.
Boo.
I think I have blocked them out.
Your guys' team did a few. I took away a point because you had some non-writers submit points on your team.
Now listen, I want to talk about that for a minute. So as a newbie who put together a team last year, I like to say what was so great about it was I had 4 non-writers say, I just want to be part of it. Can I be on your team? And I was like, of course you can, because we are about inclusivity. So I wasn't going to say, well, no, you're not riding. You can't be on it.
Now,
these girls got jerseys. We all had jerseys in our names and our numbers.
They were
in it.
I will say I love that spirit.
Yeah.
And I would have made the exception if they had been on road bikes at least.
They even put together a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, they did. I was like, I don't know that I was like, can I even open a PowerPoint? So I do encourage, even if you don't want to do the off-road stuff, some people can't handle it physically. They don't want to handle it physically. Yeah. If you want to be on a team, there is great road riding around that area. So I encourage it. But if you want to be counted for points, be on at least a motorcycle.
If you want to be on a team and you don't ride, you can still be on my team. Fine.
Hey, that's on her. That's fine.
That's right.
Totally
that's
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
We had at least, so we had 2 riding members of our team. It was myself and Addie.
Well, you guys added Renee.
We did. We added Renee and Dave, and then the Manharts rode with us as well. So we actually had a 6-person riding team.
Yeah, the Manharts were combo.
Yeah, and it was great because Ed is strong and he helped pick up bikes.
Yeah, Ed's a big fuck. He's tall.
Ed definitely helped me out on a couple stretches of Pumpkin Hollow where it got a little bit dicey. So, and he was helping his wife a bit too. And he was like, I got one to worry about. I don't need another. But no, it was great. It was super. And I know that, I believe this year I've already been approached by a couple other people.
I know one. One that's joined or is trying to join your team.
Are we naming names?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, so, that's right, and I have another one too. So
as far as
I picked up 2 riders.
Team points and challenges, I will say that part of it is you are disqualified if you don't keep your team together. If a bike breaks down and they have to get it back to the camp, that's not what we're talking about. But if you blast and you've left like a newbie behind and another team has to pick them up or rescue them, shut it down. Because if you bring someone to this event, they are your responsibility. We're all grown adults. I'm not babysitting anybody anymore. I've done plenty of that on plenty of these rides. So don't leave your people behind. And with that, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, going back to favorite challenges, one that sticks out in my mind, it wasn't even the one last year, it was previous, was snacks. Everyone's taking pictures of their snacks. I just thought that was hilarious.
Well, I think Kluchak always tops that one.
Yeah, he does.
He's got like 50-liter bags on each side. And it's like, it's Capri Suns, Pop-Tarts, Fruit Roll-Ups, Chew Bars. And at the bottom of Fincastle, he'll like set out a snack buffet that spells KAT. And he's like, here, take it. So people just gradually take it.
That Capri Sun, I think, was responsible for me getting up Fincastle last year.
He gets double points for that one almost every year.
Some cross-pollination from the Chop Talk Challenge.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
He would stay with me, and then they have Malort airport bottles, and I would bring those on the KAT.
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
I think my heart kind of gets warm because I've had a couple people try Malort for the first time on the KAT, covered in shit, like out in the woods. I'm just like, enjoy. Like,
it literally can't get worse than this.
I love to see somebody take that first swig of Malort. You can always picture the moment their spirit leaves their body. It just gets so it's awful, but it's it's a rite of passage and it's a lot of fun. I do want to circle back just briefly. Pro tip for new teams coming in: limit your team size. 8. I wouldn't go above that. That's about the max.
We have special exceptions for like dirt dogs. They have a certain energy that can.
Yeah.
I mean, Julian, you can attest. It's work keeping those clowns together.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention like the mechanic of having teams. It's not really about the competition, and I could see it the year that it happened where it's about accountability with smaller groups of people. You used to lead like that massive group and you just get stuck waiting for every single person. But with the teams, it's just built so people can be a little bit more fluid and you can move along without just waiting for every single person to cross every single log or rock or whatever. So it's more about just having buddies that are accountable, and you encourage everybody to get their shit together and all the maintenance done and stuff.
We, after we post this or before we post this, we'll have the soundtrack, we'll have the GPX file out. Like, your team must be self-sufficient. You can try and hope to follow somebody else, but if you get lost, at that point, it's on you. Most phones can do offline GPX now, so definitely do your navigation homework. Go try and navigate somewhere for the first time. See how quickly your phone dies, how it does in the rain. The last few times that I've had to lead in the rain, I'm like, fuck, shit.
During the monsoon last year, we were done, but we still wanted to go back out.
Oh, yeah, you guys were later.
Yeah, we went back out, and then the rain happened, and a bunch of other drama happened. And I was the only one with a map, and I had like 1% left. And I would just check it for a second, and then put it back in the way, and then it was just like, where are we going? It's like, we all need to get our own GPS.
I really wanted, I've seen Drew Faulkner with the Red River Scramble, which I've talked with him. We actually met, him and I met at Red River Scramble, and we didn't know who each other was until at the end of the conversation. He's like, wait, you do the Invitational. I was like, oh, this is your event. Like, it was funny, and I know that he does like laminated maps, and I love that. I would love to get like a semi-waterproof KAT map.
And we got them pasted up at home, just like
Yeah. We printed out on the challenge list the last 2 years a very small map to get you like, okay, if we go this way for however many miles, we'll run into a major road. Not super detailed maps, but I would love to do that. I really want this. The reason we're doing this is I really want this event to get larger. Again, I am such an advocate for community-based things in the motorcycling world. When the community disappears, you get horrible product, you get kicked out of everywhere, you get a good community base, the equipment gets better, the riding gets better. And it's like, the thing on Friday night. How many people are working on one bike? Because he's got that tool, they've got the other tool. It's like, oh, I've actually got a spare crash guard over here.
Somebody walks up, takes the nut away. And
definitely a sabotage challenge. That's one of my favorite challenges. Sabotage challenges.
Yep.
Now, most of these challenges are like, let's talk about points for some of the new teams, some of the old teams that maybe don't get it. Points are, every challenge is worth generally 1 point. If I see someone go above and beyond, in example, clue check with the buffet snacks, that's worth 2. It's only ever worth a maximum of 2. Now, if you do something like the sabotage one and somebody breaks a leg because of it, A, you're disqualified.
Negative.
B, we'll see you. But yes, we give you negative points. Like if you're not in the spirit of the thing, negative points. And at the end of the day, like I said, it used to be like a 3-day ride, and you just be ass tired. But at the end of the day on Saturday, everybody comes back. They usually end up at like 1 of 3 places to eat. And it is so loud when the invitational people are in any of those, because they're all deaf from being on the bike all day, and they're so hyped, and they're all telling stories, just screaming at each other over what's the Mexican joint down the street?
Miguel's?
Miguel? No,
that's the pizza.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're screaming at each other over margaritas and nachos.
Gets loud.
As far as that goes this year, for some more details, this year's event is the 2nd and 3rd of May, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, sometimes people stay. They'll go on a little more riding. If it's raining or something, then they'll just piss off at home. But those are the official dates of the ride, is the 2nd and 3rd of May. And on Friday night, show up when you can. I know people are working, maybe they're not working. Show up when you can, because, again, the real event isn't until Saturday morning.
Well, luckily this takes place the weekend of Derby, so it's a great time to get the hell out of Dodge.
That's actually how this all started.
I don't want to stay in this city.
The reason why the Invitational started was a bunch of us people in Louisville got tired of being here for Derby. Not a huge fan of Derby. If you are, I'm sorry for you. Get better hobbies. We just got tired of the city being full of absolute trash people, so we left and did some of the most rad shit we could think of. And it worked so well, and I've never had to deal with Derby traffic since then. So it was just a reason to literally get away. And I think we just roped you in because we knew you.
Yeah, it was up nearby.
Yeah,
it's like, hey,
you have a motorcycle. Let's go die.
Well, we didn't at the time.
Yeah.
It's like,
you guys bought the Hawks.
Yeah, we bought those stupid China Hawks.
Hey, dude, those bikes became infamous, man. They did way more than I thought they would. All right, we're back from a little bit of a break. It was getting sweaty underneath here. A couple of things I want to talk about. We had started talking about the Hawks, which reminded me of another point to talk about. Let's talk about first what bikes you guys have or are riding. Again, we'll go straight down the line. Julian.
I started with a kind of a big bike, a vintage XL 600R. It was no big deal. But I have a lot more fun on like a 400. It's an older KTM 400, and I feel like that's like the perfect KAT bike.
Yeah, you definitely got cool points for the XL. It was like the XL line, the old XL square headlights. To me, visually, that's a DualSport.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite looking motorcycles.
That for me, my experience is kind of common with like motorcycle stuff. But I had just moved here, and I was like, had no idea like anybody around, but I knew you were doing that thing, and I was like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
And it was funny, everybody trying to figure me out, and you were like, kickstart only. And it was just like such a thing, and it was just in my head, but shit was dialed, and so it was fine.
Yeah, most people that show up with the kickstart only bike, we've shown it on the channel. Like John Seitz spends most of his time on the channel kickstarting that fucking 250. Kickstart only bikes are super neat and very handy as long as they're tuned correctly, and they rarely are. Yours was, you showed up to that first year, and that was our first time of like actually one-on-one, like at an event. Like I'd seen you around, but you had shown up and we had like spent some quality time. You were doing that whole thing on a kickstart only bike with a DSLR slung around your back the whole time. And this is very gnarly, dirt, muddy riding that you... and you didn't like have it in a case. It was just around you.
Oh my gosh.
Some of my favorite pictures were from that year.
That's another cool thing about the event. If you're someone who can share stuff like that, like making media, it's one of my favorite things.
Absolutely. I give out bonus points to people that fucking take pictures and videos. Yeah. I was very sad when you got the KTM. I cannot A, stand KTM, B,
sold out the big orange.
Two strokes are absolute garbage. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, I ride a KLX 250. That bike just sort of came into my orbit. I had really been wanting to get off-road, and I did not have that in my stable. I had a Vulcan 900.
Yeah.
And I had already bought my big adventure bike. Mm-hmm. And I knew I wasn't taking that shit out on the KAT. So.
You've got a Super Tenere.
I had a Super Tenere 1200. Yes, love that thing. And so I was really looking for that off-road DualSport bike. And I had been bookmarking some bikes on Facebook Marketplace. And of course, you ask everybody their opinion about what should I get.
God damn, dude.
You're going to get all different opinions.
What a mess.
I know.
What kind of oil should I put in this?
Right. Oh my gosh. So as it turned out, there was somebody about 3 hours away that had that KLX. This is 2019, and they were willing to do a trade. They were looking for a cruiser. They wanted to go ride.
You got a stellar deal on that.
This guy wanted to go ride with his dad at a Harley. And so for a little bit of cash in the Vulcan, I picked up the KLX. So I traded off a 2009 Vulcan.
It was like minty new.
Yeah, it was. Except it wasn't, right? Because I get the bike home. I'm super excited. I go out and take this rip down 1694, like all my favorite back roads here in Louisville. And I get back home, and then I was like admiring my new child. And then I looked and thought, those tires are dry rotted.
Yeah. It looks like they had bought it and never taken it off-road. It just sat in the garage.
Didn't. These people had it at a little compound, like a little weekend house. And so it sat outside uncovered. And so the tires were incredibly dry rotted. So I had about a 5-day clock countdown before Red River Scramble to get new tires on it. So I had it down here, I think, twice with you, getting stuff dialed in on it. But yeah, it's a heavier bike. It's a DualSport, not really a dirt bike. It's not too strong.
We're going to get into that.
But
hang on
listen,
to that thought.
I'll tell you what, I take that bike out and I do a lot as a new rider.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit behind the 8 ball doing some of this stuff on a heavier bike that weighs about 280 pounds. And, I'm not the strongest person in the world. I'm tall, but I get it done. I'm getting it done.
All right.
So,
get R done. That's the summary on that one. Schmitzy and I have way more years on KAT, and we have quite the menagerie of bikes we've taken.
All that we've taken on.
Let's just take your worst to your favorite.
Worst to my favorite. Oh.
Now, objectively.
Right, objectively.
You would think it'd be the China bike. I don't think it is.
No. The China bikes did amazingly well for what they were, and I mean, they were absolute troopers. The red one that Elizabeth dunked just completely submerged up to the sea.
U-boat captain.
We ran that thing for about 20 miles with a case full of water.
It wasn't even water, man.
It was just at that point.
It was an aggregate slurry. Just like, oh, these are pretty bearings you got in here.
And it's like that thing still runs.
Yeah, it had a tacoed wheel. The engine was running, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
As long as you know what you're getting into, I think if you are trying to do something like this, get on it however you can. Don't be daunted by I've got to buy the brand new Beta with fuel injection. Don't just go. We will make sure you survive. What about your favorite?
I still gotta pick the Funduro just because of how stupid it is.
You remember that brain sickness we were talking about? It's the same.
Hey, this last year, it was on point. It
was dialed in a little more.
It's not there yet. You're right. It's not 100%.
It was way better.
Way better.
It was a functioning mode of travel at this point. Last year, I was like, that is a
scrapyard rolling down the hill. So it's way better than what it was last year. But yeah, that was my favorite. Second, I would say the China bike. Close third, the DRZ 400.
Yeah.
And I want to say
that's a bike
to Julian's
we see
point. the 400s are just it's a great all rounder. It'll do everything you want on the KAT and do it well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's a good quick point on that. It is an adventure ride. I've been with buddies who showed up on like smaller bikes, like tiny bikes, and that's great in the woods, but there are sections of highway, and that'll be a little sticky when everyone's having a great time and they blast away. And
two strokes don't like
Sharon
that.
was on the KLX 140, a 4-stroke 140, and it was an absolute antelope on trail. She had zero problems, except for that water thing. But that was the years that we were traveling, like we were packing it out, and her getting back that next day, I don't understand how that thing had any piston left in it. 'Cause she was just drafting anybody she could. The only ones that were with her were the T-dubs. They were equally fucking slow. They're like, "Hey, what's up, brother?" I think for me, I mean, you guys, anybody that's watching this generally knows the absolute adoration I have for my Himalayan. It is literally middle of the pack for size, power, weight. It is the heaviest thing out there, but it's certainly not featherweight. I've done it on stuff like the XT lines, XT225s, XT250s. If you fit them, unless you're like some 7-footer, they are absolute cheat codes off-road. They weigh nothing. They're absolute tinker toys to fix. But their physical real estate to camp out on is their limiting factor. I owned a KLR that I really loved. It had a lot of the Tengai upgrades. Loved that bike. It was a great travel bike, light, fire roads. Way too fucking big, man. It had no finesse off-road. KAT was the reason I got rid of that bike. And then I fumbled around. I knew that. I had NX, the NX 250, top king shit bike I've ever had on KAT. Like 30 or 40 horsepower out of a 250 with a 6-gear, absolute machine. It got me in the most trouble. But top tier though for me, for every bike, is my Hemi. Yeah. Now we've talked about the kind of bikes that we have ridden. There's this thing that I always want to talk about in any of these videos or whatever we're doing, is definitions and usefulness of, we're talking about, here's how I'm going to put it out. Dirt bikes, enduros, dual sports, adventure bikes. Is there any like sub-genre I'm missing in there?
Trials bike, no.
Do not show up. You have to sit down at some point. Quads, just.
Legs of steel.
I'm a huge believer in the dual sport small adventure bike. Hemi is bridging that gap for me. It's awfully big compared to like your KLX.
Right. Weight-wise.
Yeah, sure. It's a fat slug compared to that thing, but it's still a lot smaller than like a full-size GS and stuff like that.
Correct.
I love my creature comforts. I love my magic button.
Like mine.
Yeah, that's different. That's a separate drawer. I like my luggage. I also like to be the hero, so I'm usually packing tools and straps and tubes and parts and luggage. So that's different for me. Most of the dirt dogs, however.
Yeah, don't take shit with us. We're just mooch off everybody else. No, I think, given the couple features that we talked about earlier, if I was talking to someone about doing this ride, I would take the ADV bikes and set them out, because the couple super hard features, unless you're like know what you're getting into, like
wizard status, Alex Workman status.
Yeah.
Right.
I would rather have a slower bike and have a little bit more fun instead of dealing with cases hitting rocks and traction and shit like that.
There's case killers out there for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so lighter is easier. It used to be a bigger deal to have the adventure bikes. Again, and I keep referring to it even though we're not doing anymore, when we were doing pack-out rides, when we'd have like 200 miles to get back to where we were, it would be miserable on a dual sport and a dirt bike. We are doing loops where I think it's the end of the main loop ends in Beattyville and then goes back to Slade, which is what?
10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's nothing at all. If you're gingerly with your 2-stroke, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I had a friend, this still counts as a ADV bike, but even a KLR 650 is
that's a pig.
Fucking chore.
Yeah.
The first time like the dirt dog started being a thing, it was like Nick Bragg showed up with his KLR, that other like the really skinny kid. And I will give it to him. That kid never complained. He just got back up, but he was getting swamped on that KLR.
Yeah, he was very cool, and we were like out in the sticks. Like everyone was gone, and it was just the three of us. And he finally, at one point, is like, "Is there any more of this?" And he was like,
actually, it's the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Did you know these numbers? Like, check. It's like, I don't want to say this out loud.
Yeah, I feel like I got that on video of when it just sort of teetered over. It's like, fuck this. Like, I'm done, But yeah, I think that would be a little bit too much of a bike, I think Nick was way more happy on his DRZ 400.
Oh, yeah. He was, yeah. That's another thing. Like, again, you get points deducted if you leave a teammate behind, but if you're somebody that has recognized your physical limits, we do not want you getting hurt. No one's going to think, they chickened out. We gave Matt a little shit earlier, but the goal is not to die. It's to have more riders, and if you don't hurt yourself, you're going to ride longer. So it's a focus of, we're going to razz you a little bit, but please, if you are feeling gassed and you are wildly unsure, you'll get a ribbing like, oh, you should try it, but you know yourself better than anybody else. If you need to piss off and go back to the hotel for a long shower, by all means, do that. Please don't die on that thing. Like we talked about earlier, Workman's team all had giant bikes, but they had spent the year practicing and meeting up as a team with those bikes. And watching them work, it was like a wizard. Just I rode small bikes, and I consider myself a decent rider. Seeing them do that, I was like, I don't ever want to be that good. It's too much work.
It was so fun watching them just go up and down Fincastle like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and it was no big deal. They just practiced so much. They did it so well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It's
and I think they also got the support points there, because I remember one of their groups. They were like the main crew that helped that person that dislocated their shoulder. Which, talking about getting hurt, why do you do this?
Yeah.
When you're with a group, you have that kind of support network. And that was actually really cool, because teams dissolved. We all kind of hung out with this person. Everybody had their little role to make sure they were good. But I think they just they went and got to a truck or something, and they all worked together to get this person out. And
that was an instant payoff for us changing to the new format. The whole goal was so that, I'll claim the selfishness. I wanted to enjoy the riding, and I was tired of being the head cheese. And when people were having a bad time, they were looking at me, and I'm like, I get it. It's really not my fault. There's nothing I can do, but I am leading this ride. You're having a bad time. It is technically my fault. So we started doing the format, and it was after the big downhill. What is it? Walker Creek?
Yeah, Walker Creek.
And then there's that section where it's just that really cool swoopy thing. Our team had gone last to start sweeping, and we're cruising. We'd passed a team or two already, and we saw one of the riders going the other way, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? He says, we had a guy come over, and he ate shit, dislocated his shoulder. I'm going to try and get out and get contacts. I was like, oh, okay. I called Workman, and I think he had already gotten there, and they came up with a plan. I was like, okay, here is Cray's number. I can't remember his first name.
Craig Kenny.
Yeah. Absolute stud muffin. Really great support role that year. Even in the year before, you tried to rope pull somebody out, which kind of backfired. But okay, points for trying. But he ended up getting him. He said, "Here is where I can get a vehicle. That's as far in as I can get. If you can get here, we can exfil." Workman arranged with another guy to get his bike out the same day, and I'm here when I'm helping orchestrate that. I'm like, okay, here's Workman's number, here's Cray. I'm like, okay, this is the plan. Are you, as the, let's call him the victim, are you as a victim cool with this? And he said, yep. And I said, Alex, you got his bike, you got him, you guys are gonna. He said, yep. I said, cool. Blah. And I got to leave. It was cool. I got to continue my ride. Alex team's got points for that. Their own team got points for just not being an absolute dipshit and panicking. So it was an instant payoff for the team building thing.
What I've got another story about just getting stranded. I was trying to. I'm pretty sure it was Scott, but the last year that you did the giant group, we had some drama with people coming up the trail, and it was a big block where we have a giant group. There's another group of Jeeps coming up the trail.
My God, dude.
And we had like exchanged pleasantries with these freaks out there, and then they all left, and I was like the last one to get up, like saddle up, and that was the only time my bike let me down, and it was hot and humid, and so it just would not crank over right, and I kick-started it until I just could not handle it anymore, and Scott was there, and everybody else took off, and it was
Scott Hoblob?
I think so.
Yeah.
The van life.
Yeah, that's
that's him. Shout out to Scott Hoblob.
Yeah, that was so cool. And that made me feel so good because, adrenaline's going and your head's like, no, I'm going to keep kicking it. I'm going to keep kicking it. Like, just like, would not give up
and
on it.
And like, hey, turn the ignition on.
Yeah, and he was like, he hung out with me and he was just like, why don't you try to bump start it? And totally helped me out, and it like completely saved me. And that would be a thing, like, if you were by yourself, that would have been like day ending. And so that was really cool. Someone hung out with me and helped me get through that, and I think that's nice. I don't know.
So Tate was with us, invited by one of our previous members, was there with us last year with his Husky two-stroke, and did a great job. I mean, he was just awesome. Stop it. And he, again, he dunked his bike, and we spent a good 2 hours clearing that stupid thing.
Oh, I remember that.
Last year.
Yeah, and he was getting into that point where he's just like, I am so done with this. And everyone just kind of gathered around. We're like, dude, we're going to take care of this. We got a plan. We can get the bike out. We can get you out. We'll make it happen. But
I mean, at the very least, we can divvy up his meat.
Right.
Worst case scenario.
He's a skinny guy, though.
Yeah,
it's like he'd just be gnawing for days.
Yeah, but when he came back, that's what he talked about the most was like how rad, even though, it was Type 3. At the moment, he was panicking. He's like, he bought the bike for the event. It's fucked up. And then when he got home, he was just stoked. He's drenched. You guys had made your jerseys the year before, and they were like proper printed jerseys. He was in a t-shirt that they had kind of spray painted to look the same, and it was like all water faded. I was like, ugh, gross. But he was stoked that happened to him. That's all he talked about was how it was like you guys, and it was, I think, Dirt Dogs were helping.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we found them in the monsoon.
Yeah.
It was this bizarre scene where there was a bunch of goofy side-by-sides stuck, and then them on the side trying to figure out their bike. And I think that was our team assist points because we were able to help them get it figured out.
Yeah.
That was a scene. That
was it was nuts. And we were right about ready to take off, and we let those side-by-sides go through, and they got stuck for another hour. Damn it!
Yeah. There was one that only had one drive.
Two-wheel drive, it was two-wheel drive only, and it was hung up in the muck, and it was like, wow, I can't believe this.
They did a great job just digging out the whole thing. We got stuck in the huge rut.
Oh, that rut, that big V. Oh god, that was a lot of fun. But again, adventures. We're telling the stories. This is
adventures.
You say that as you're sobbing in the rain. Please.
I love adventures.
So with all those nightmare stories for everybody else, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put the difficulty of specifically this event? Not KAT as a whole, but our event. Keeping in mind that there is a huge amount of support from over 40, 50 people around.
So 1 being falling over in a field.
1 being you are literally done with motorcycling for the rest of your life. 10 being I had the best time of my life.
Gotcha.
I thought
in terms of
how the difficulty scale.
Yeah,
not
you said
fun
difficulty.
Scale.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, let's base it back into difficulty. 10 being I can't move forward anymore. To 1 is I'm going to the grocery store.
Okay.
I don't know. I would do 8. It's fucking fun, and with the amount of people that you have.
Thank you for your honesty.
I was not expecting that.
I think of Julian as being one of the best riders out there. And you're so humble about it too, because you're like, oh, I just was ski throttled my bike into the woods. Oh well.
We're gonna play that again. Here that is again.
Hope you got that on film. Oh yes, thank goodness.
so easy, like popping right up Fincastle, like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do it. But you think it's an 8?
Yeah, I think because it's way more fun, and then the fun outweighs the risk involved with all the help that you have. And so for me, like the first year I did it, I was in my head. I got like an oversized tank. I overcompensated for all the preparation stuff, but it's a great way to be out there. And for me, like the fun level is just like out of the like way better than like the risk.
The scale.
Yeah.
Now, as a newcomer to, I would say that at that point in time, because I know you went on after that to do a lot of stuff like Interlake and other off-road stuff, but I think at that point in time, that might have been the hardest thing you've done yet.
Sure. So remember that there were sections of the KAT Invitational I had never ridden before.
Yeah.
I had done Spots Creek twice. I had never done Pumpkin Hollow. And that definitely seemed
moist.
like, so it was very slimy and slick. And there was definitely a couple sections on Pumpkin Hollow that I needed. Shout out to Ed Manhart for helping me out a couple spots where I just made a bad decision.
Also, shout out to Addison who broke ribs on.
I know. Well, so that last little bit of Pumpkin Hollow, you were there on the ground and you were like, take this way and that way. Like you and somebody else were on the ground and you were saying, it's got to be here and you got to go to there. Or like, you're going to make it up. Or you're going to die. So I was like, all right, don't.
You're like, no pressure, all right.
So that was the best moment for me last year, though Fincastle was amazing too, but there was a special part of Pumpkin Hollow because I didn't know. I mean, I had never seen it. I could see Fincastle. I knew what I was going to go climb, but Pumpkin Hollow, all of it was like unknown, and I didn't even really realize I was like at the very end. But you were on the ground telling me the track to take. I followed it to the letter. I popped up at the very top. I couldn't like, okay, let's do the thing. And I popped up at the very top, and all the dirt dogs were up there, and they all cheered. Yep. And I was like,
they're like a geographical anomaly. They're always everywhere.
But it gives me goosebumps because that was the spirit of it right there. Like, we're all in different teams, but to have everybody up there at the top and sort of just cheering me on. Really a brand new off-road rider.
Yeah.
I'm middle-aged as fuck. I'm old enough to be all y'all's moms.
And into it. What?
Oh, I mean, really. But it was a great moment. So I'd say the difficulty of it for me was I felt like it felt like a 12. But the sense of accomplishment I had from doing what I did last year was just incredible, and the fun is like a 20,000. But it was really good. Really good. And it is hard, but I guess I will say what I loved about it was the fact that I didn't feel alone in it. Mm-hmm. I never felt alone, and I felt like if I was in some shit, somebody was going to help me out.
Or at least put you down, like Old Yeller.
Yeah, sure.
Listen, your leg is lame.
Gotta go. My retirement's not that strong, so whatever. But
and the thing you were talking about, like you hadn't seen that stuff before. When some people are like, "Hey, I'm really interested in KAT," we try and show them, what we've been playing in the background. This is KAT. The GoPros, cameras, never capture the gradient degree.
They don't capture the climb.
It is wildly steep, up and down. So watch the videos and just look at the trees. The trees are the best way because the trees are up, and if the dirt looks like that, like it's
I love
steep.
watching those like hill climbs on YouTube and stuff, and it still doesn't.
No, it
doesn't do it justice until you see those bikes flipping down the hill and the riders are rolling. You're like, oh, that's
there's nowhere to stop.
Just keep going.
So steep, the bikes never stop.
All right, Schmitz, what's your 1 through 10?
Oh hell, difficulty, I'd say 8. Fun level. Yeah, 20,000. I mean,
20,000 plus
it's one of the best events and so much fun. The camaraderie you get and being out there and seeing people on the trail, catching up. Hey, what'd you run into? How's this? We had this happen. We had to back up. We had to do this. So it's just a great, solid event, and it's the perfect size, I think, now.
Yeah.
In terms of we're not doing it over the course of several days. You're not feeling slogged out at the end of it.
Length.
Yeah, length. Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's great now. I think.
Something I'd like to add to that is the lead up to it. The lead up to the
event.
We haven't even talked about how much fun
KAT wars are my favorite thing. It's usually these three, some Kluchek in there, literally just cat fighting with each other to I feel appease me, and I love
the meme
every
wars
second of it.
Are
just
amazing. And it was so much fun last year because it was my first time doing it, and how immediately we were just in the shit, and that made it so much fun because the Rut Sluts, pretty much all girl team, and we had a good time like poking fun at everybody, and we had a little kind of Dolly Parton sort of thing going on, backwoods Barbies, it was just great. I mean, that builds the anticipation. It makes it even more exciting because we have months and months and months of that smack talk leading up to it, and we get so excited. And there's just the planning you do with your team, but then there's the crossing over to the other teams too. And I think that just makes it so cool.
One point to that is most of the time, because it started out as like a friends group only thing, we have been running the page just on Facebook. With the event growing and what seems to be an exodus on Facebook, we're trying to get an event landing page for information, a forum, some instructional stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that. If you do have questions about this or where to be and you're not on Facebook, or you are on Facebook, this year is KAT and the Furious, KAT and the Furious on Facebook page. And if you have questions you're not on Facebook, find the ADV team, 80V DualSport at gmail.com. Email us. We'll give you an itinerary sheet. We'll give you the GPX files. That way you have all the information and you don't have to log in or something. Again, it's free, so we're not requiring you to do anything. But a page in the future, in the next couple weeks or so, will really facilitate some new blood, which is definitely the goal.
Awesome.
One more thing before we drop some more basic info. Is there anything that you want this year or would change about the previous years? Right now, I am very satisfied with how you guys are receiving it. The theming, this year's theme is KAT and Furious. It is about family. I can't wait for the Friday night bike meetup.
God,
I want to see tribal wraps. I want to see tubes and pipes and cables that don't go anything.
I want to see a Bosa Suco show up.
I've heard rumors.
The Rut Sluts are having a Fast and Furious viewing party one night at my house. So we're pretty excited about that, so we can start pre-gaming.
So again, most of this, you are all trying to appease me, so be careful. But what do you want to change? Or if anything, and you don't feel obligated to, because it's, literally perfection.
I felt like there was one aspect of the day that we were on the road a little longer than I wanted to be.
Okay.
And I think it was because we were trying to get out to Nata Tunnel and all that business, and just felt like we were on the pavement a ton.
We did change that.
I felt like it would just be
I think we did change that because
I
think Nata Tunnel is a challenge, but I don't think it's a requirement on the route. So it's like a bonus quest.
Sure, it was a means to an end. Yeah.
It always is.
What I want the feeling of the overnights when you're not in safety in Slade. You're staying at Mindmate Park out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was
But
great.
I understand that that's a lot. But one thing that would help, I think, is just set up a just general lunch spot. Where's the break point? Because last year, big come up for us morale wise was we knew everyone was going to this old
That
tiny
hot
hot dog
place?
stand,
Yeah.
and that was a big fun thing to do. And so maybe a designated lunch spot after FinCastle be
Good idea.
whenever you get out, go there and you'll probably see DualSport goobers.
Yeah.
Or maybe
trust me, you'll know.
make two of them baked into the day or
Yeah.
something.
Because there's
two rally points.
that cool spot. I think it's called the Red Top or the Red Roof or some nonsense, but it's right across the street from a baller ice cream shop too. So that's a pretty good point.
Yeah. Because for us, we were trying to figure out. We almost went to Workman's right after that and left everybody because we weren't near anyone. But that was great because we went back and we saw all the bikes, and so that kind of got us all together.
Skybridge Station.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. You got anything?
Oh shoot! They took mine.
Okay. Yeah,
No.
that's fair.
No, honestly, it's I feel like the format overall is the best and as good and polished as it can be at the moment.
I think there's little route improvement.
Probably.
I can probably dig around. Probably talk to Jeff Jeff and I talk probably like once a year. I'm like, hey, we're doing KAT, and hey, like every time on the KAT's page, like his route page, he's like, download the new one, because he changes it. Sometimes there's property disputes. Sometimes there's a road that's just washed away. So if you do look into KAT in general, download the new GPS.
It's changed so much over the years.
Yeah,
when we first did.
There is some stuff. I'm so sad it's gone. It was like going in, like driving into that river cave. The abandoned horse barn. The OHV trail out near Big Lovely. God, it's gone. But with that, like I said, if you are looking for information, you can hit the Facebook page, Cat and the Furious. You can find me on my Facebook, Richard Allen Art. Dox me, I don't care. You can have my information. It's not worth anything. If you don't have Facebook, that's fine. Email us at 80vdualsport.com, or sorry, 80vdualsport@gmail.com. ADV. I don't know why more people don't understand the wordplay on that one. There's a guy that was riding with us last year at KAT, and I explained that to somebody new. They were like, what does ADV mean? I was like, sound it out. ADV, like, oh, like ADV. They're like, yeah. And I'm just going to call him out. Fuzzy was right behind me. He goes, are you kidding me, dude? That's what that means. I was like, Fuzzy been riding us for like 10 years. So yeah, hit us up on the Gmail. You can even comment on our YouTube. That's where you can find footage of KAT events, just random KAT rides of us just doing the actual trail itself. Anyone have any more notes?
I'd say if you want to see the meme wars this year, follow KAT and the Furious as a hashtag.
Oh yeah,
so those will all be tagged, and you'll get to see all the stuff.
I think it's. I'll put it right here if I'm wrong. Cannonball KAT is the official event Instagram.
That's right, Cannonball KAT.
And so pay attention to that. There'll be meme wars and stuff like that.
Yeah. Get your Instagram page going. Get your team going.
This year started a little slow because we were trying to really iron out the format again. But I really think it's about to start ramping up. The weather's starting to change. With that, we'll see you guys on the trail.
Well, it's the KAT, put on by Little Richie. I was cussing and complaining, but he's mainly bragging about his ME. Ohio Wrecking Crew's here, and the Dirt Dogs too. There's a few other teams, but nobody really seems to care. 'Cause we're drinking our hearts